Well, after a weekend of reading and learning about surgeries the Cardinals have had, more details emerging on the procedure done to Lars Nootbaar. And we're going to talk about it here on today's Card Central 365, brought to you by DraftKings. The crown is yours. Joe Roderick, Brenden Schaeffer with you here. And Brenden, your friend Jeff Jones had an article today in the Belleville News-Democrat on the just kind of looking at some of the past athletes that have had the same surgery that Lars had, which again is called, as I scrolling through here, Haglund's deformity.
Yeah. Haglund's
Yeah.
deformity. That guy sounds like a real jerk. I don't know about his deformity because I guess it's not that uncommon of a thing for like the human population to have, but it certainly doesn't seem ideal if you're an athlete.
Yeah, I whenever you talk about shaving down a bony growth, that just,
I don't even want to. No, stop. I don't even want to talk about it. Uncomfortable.
You know what? I don't know if that's in the top 10 of uncomfortable
No, it's not.
surgeries or injuries that I'd want to talk about. But I appreciate Jeff kind of digging deep into this and giving examples of what we have, because you hear sports hernia, like what Brendan Donovan had.
Yeah.
Okay, we've seen athletes have that. Iván Herrera, we really didn't get a whole lot of details into Iván Herrera's injury. It was just like, yeah, his elbow's been messed up for a few years, and now they're fixing it.
I think they called it loose bodies in the elbow, like a cleanup procedure.
Yeah.
I guess that's what they use to because you hear elbow surgery and you're like, out for a year, and like, no, it's a cleanup procedure, and it's like, okay, I guess he's not out for a year. Sounds good.
Yeah, and then with Masyn Winn, with his right meniscus repair, as we talked about before, as a 2-time torn meniscus survivor, I can speak onto that and the recovery process as to which Masyn Winn is undergoing this offseason. But I digress, and we kind of dive in today to the Lars Nootbaar injury. And if you go in there, it's Jeff tweeted it out. It's in the Belleville News-Democrat. But just kind of going through some of this, it doesn't seem, when you look at Yoenis Céspedes, kind of the biggest name for this in baseball in recent years. I don't know if we can continue talking about Nootbaar's trade value this offseason. I think we've moved on to, is Lars Nootbaar going to play baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals in 2026?
Yeah, I honestly don't know what to think, but that's a good name to bring up. Jeff writes about Céspedes and says that at the time, which he also suffered a fractured ankle in a run-in with a wild boar, if you recall that.
I remember that injury,
Céspedes. Yeah. But anyway, he had this surgery in July, and they said his rehab was expected to take 8 to 10 months, and the recovery could take longer. Like, I've seen some, people write up about this Haglund's thing that, Lars Nootbaar, yeah, he'll probably be ready for the start of the next season. And I have no idea if that's accurate. Like, I have no reason to believe that it necessarily would be. And also, when you look at some other examples that Jeff Jones mentioned in his article for the Belleville News-Democrat, John Wall of the Washington Wizards had this repair in 2019, and it says just days into his recovery, tore his ACL in a fall at home.
Achilles, tore his Achilles.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Achilles. Because this Haglund's deal can cause discomfort and risk damage to the Achilles, I guess, if you don't take care of it. Well, John Wall took care of it with this procedure and yet still ended up tearing the Achilles. So, like, this feels like a glass bones and paper skin situation. Like, this doesn't sound like something that automatically is just going to be, hunky-dory, and Lars Nootbaar is going to come back and, A, be productive for whoever he plays for in 2026, or B, have the trade value that I think about a month ago, Cardinals fans were thinking, okay, Lars Nootbaar, they're trying Herrera in left field. I know they want to catch him, but you've got other guys for corner outfield spots. Alec Burleson has emerged as an everyday guy. Jordan Walker, if he's still around, they might run it back with him in the other corner spot in 2026. Maybe Lars Nootbaar is somebody they can trade off of his name value, even in a season where he was underperforming. I have no idea if that's a viable option at this point. And as Jeff writes, which disappoints me, the logic makes sense. But he says, look, I mean, if Lars Nootbaar is not someone the Cardinals are able to trade get value for via trade because of his health status, then does that increase the chances that they move Brendan Donovan because they're trying to find ways to, kind of clear the deck a little bit and move forward, get value for what they can for guys that are going to expire into free agency within a couple of years? And so does that actually increase the chances that Donovan is a name that they move, which I've already kind of thought was going to happen, but maybe in the back of my mind, I was holding out a little hope that the Cardinals wouldn't trade him. I think that would be a mistake personally, because it would be like allowing for a sunk cost to dominate a decision that isn't a sunk cost. If Lars Nootbaar is so injury prone and dealing with a legitimate injury right now or a recovery from a surgery that he doesn't have value, I wouldn't want to let that impact what I would do with another player if I think that other player is somebody that long-term can really help me win. But if they get a great offer for Donovan, fine. I don't know why the Cardinals should allow one to have much to do with the other. If Nootbaar is a sunk cost, then he's a sunk cost. You put him on the IL for the year and you see when he comes back, maybe you can trade him in the summertime. But I don't know about that deal with the Donovan part of it, but it seems plausible. It really does.
And looking at it from that way, with that too, Brendan, if you go and in the article it mentions Cardinals are wanting to kind of get rid of one left-handed bat.
Right. And that would be that would be the reason you say, oh, can't trade Nootbaar, gotta move one of them.
If we're going Brendan Donovan, I think we all can agree. If you look at anybody on the entire Cardinals roster, I think Brendan Donovan is going to bring back the biggest return of anybody that is out there on the trade block for the 2026 season. Without a doubt, he is going to bring back the most. If we're just looking at getting rid of a left-handed bat, I don't think Brendan Donovan and Lars Nootbaar should be in the same category. Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Gorman, those are the ones you're comparing there. That is your apples to apples comparison. If you're looking to unload a left-handed bat, knowing you're not going to get much back, because Lars Nootbaar, the health there, again, Lars Nootbaar, great marketable face and personality, and seems to be the guy that everyone wants in their clubhouse. But if we're talking about who you want playing on the field for you, Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Gorman, those are the two that you're parallels that you're looking at there. Brendan Donovan is a game changer organization. Like, he is that missing piece. Like, hey, we're one away. Who could we add? We're going to go out and get Brendan Donovan and become, go from the divisional series, wildcard series, to being a World Series contender in Brendan Donovan.
Yeah.
Lars Nootbaar and Nolan Gorman are just like, oh, we need a left-handed bat. Let's go get them.
And you're not worried about what you're giving up in those trades nearly as much. In a Donovan trade, you're having to push your poker chips to the middle of the table. And in these other trades, it's just it's like a side pot. It's not necessarily the same category. I couldn't agree more with that. And so if you're the Cardinals, you have to ask with this, what's your motivation, and can you parse one against the other? If your motivation is to just clear the deck a little bit of the numerous left-handed bats that you have, and that's the primary motivator, then I do think, man, is there a team out there that looks to Gorman and says there's some raw power there that we can potentially unlock, and we don't have to give up a ton? Maybe you give up a double-A bat or a double-A arm, and if you're the Cardinals and you're actually worried about 40-man implications, great. That double-A guy doesn't have to go on the 40-man, right? So you're able to kind of kick the can down the road a little bit. Do you think, if you're the Cardinals, that selling on Nolan Gorman now would be regrettable because he's finally going to tap into that 35 home run season where he's more consistent, he cuts down a little bit on the strikeouts, or he at least produces the home runs regularly, and that's finally going to happen with his plate discipline and everything coming together after however many years we've been talking about it? Like, there were parts of this past season, Joe, where I thought, here comes Gorman, like maybe that, and then he'd have another month where you go, wait, no, don't get fooled again by this. So I would say, man, and look, I don't have the exact depth chart up to say, okay, if you trade Gorman, here's what you do. But, Gorman's positioning, whether it's second base, third base, is eerily similar to what you could conceivably do with J.J. Weatherholt. And so I figure if you trade Gorman, if you trade Donovan, which again, that's a different category, but positionally it's the same. Or if you were able to trade Lars Nootbaar and then you push somebody else to an outfield spot, whether it's an Alec Burleson because you're dealing with first base and what's happening with Wilson Contreras, like all these puzzle pieces can kind of fit together to where Nootbaar being traded and then replaced with somebody else in that left field spot could be enough in terms of paring down the left field bats. But I would say certainly Gorman would be a name that would be more applicable to, oh, shoot, we can't trade Nootbaar. Okay, Nolan Gorman is your comp rather than Donovan. Donovan's the guy you trade if teams are calling you and beating the door down and you go, this is too good of an offer. I got to take it because of where we are as an organization in our rebuild. This makes more sense. Donovan is worth more to us in this specific trade than he is on our team as an extension candidate within the next couple of years and a guy that we'd keep long term. If that's the determination made by Chaim Bloom, great. I'm going to be disappointed because I think Donovan's a winning player, but I'll also understand where the Cardinals are at. It's not the same to say, oh, Lars Nootbaar's got a weird heel, and so we got to trade our best player, get what we can for him because he's a left-handed bat that we can't have around anymore. They don't put the cart before the horse.
4 more Dodger wins, and we can start having a lot of fun with potential trades this offseason.
There's no chance. There's no chance that Toronto can, save. I was going to say save America from the Dodgers, but really, I guess we're rooting for Canada now. I don't really know, but how about the way the Dodgers celebrated that NLCS win like it was a spring training game? I mean, the right fielder literally threw the clinching ball into the crowd, like it was like, all right, let's go to that. Hey, let's go hit up that Cuban place across from the stadium. Like it was like a spring training vibe to the Dodgers going to another World Series. People upset that Dave Roberts is talking about what was the line that he used? He said we want to ruin baseball. He said we want to win 4 more games and ruin baseball. We did that. I know this is a Cardinals show, but did that make you? What did you feel about that from Dave Roberts? Because I don't know if I saw that the way everybody else did.
So the small faction that's watching Card Central 365 that's also wrestling fans and enjoys my wrestling content that I provide will immediately see ties to Dave Roberts wanting to ruin baseball to the first half of 2025 when John Cena said that he wanted to ruin professional wrestling. So that was the vibe I got, and it didn't go well, and WWE had to switch and make him a good guy again. So yeah, I just it didn't go well. So I don't know. Maybe the same thing will happen with the Dodgers, and they'll fall flat on.
I don't know that the Dodgers can be the good guy. I think the Dodgers have to be the big evil superpower.
You have so many good guys on the team, though. That's the thing.
I know.
You hate that they're all combined together, but when you take them apart, you're like Shohei. That's a good guy. Right? Freddie Freeman might be the nicest person in baseball.
Tommy Edmonds.
Mookie Betts can do no wrong. Like you look at all the, everybody.
Great bowler.
Right. You look at all, probably your favorite in all of baseball because of that skill.
I would only want to interview Mookie Betts about bowling. I wouldn't want to talk a lick of baseball with him. And I think he'd probably do it because if I said, hey, just only bowling talk, I promise, he'd probably be like, yeah, let's go. But Tommy Edmonds, only want to interview him about Pokemon.
All these guys individual, and you're like, man, these are a bunch of really nice guys. Oh, you put them together? No, I hate them all.
We don't like dynasties the way that we say we do. We like when a dynasty gets built up to be able to have somebody tear it down. The problem is nobody can tear down the Dodgers. They're too damn good. What Shohei did in that game was nobody's ever done that before, and nobody will ever do it again unless it's him.
Unless it's Shohei,
he's just that good.
Before we wrap up today's 365, a quick note from our friends at DraftKings. They provide all of our content here on STL Sports Central. And over in Missouri, coming December 1st, make sure you download that DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use promo code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports. And when you download it, you will use that code and get $300 in bonus bets, with just $5 when we go live on December 1st. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. I just want to wrap up the Lars Nootbaar discussion for today. I have been, I think, a very positive advocate for Mo's last, stand in St. Louis, looking at what he traded off and how it had zero positive impact to any of the teams that he traded off players to this last year. You look at some of the vindication that he's getting with the Mike Shilton San Diego news here as of late. Mo has left with a lot of W's, I think, for his time in St. Louis. But when you look at this now and look at the possibility of not having Lars Nootbaar at all in 2026, you have got to think that the opportunities were there over the past 2 seasons to trade Lars Nootbaar away. And for one reason or another, the Cardinals just did not do it. And now might never get that opportunity when you look at 2 of the other players that have had this similar surgery that Lars had and their bounce back time from that. It doesn't seem like this is something that you could have predicted, but it probably should. Lars Nootbaar is a guy that should have been traded away a while ago.
But it doesn't fit the MO of Mo. They were never trading a guy at the height of his value. They were never, under John Mozeliak, the Cardinals were never anticipating what could go wrong or what could come next for a player. They were always thinking, this guy might be our next superstar. We've got to hang on to him because we're so desperate to find that player. I think it has to be in player evaluation a two-way street where you have an understanding of what you have as an asset, but then you do have to treat it more like a business than, get tied up in the rose-colored glasses of, oh, I mean, look at the StatCast data for Lars Nootbaar. He might be this, that, or the other. He might be. But they've had other instances of players like this where, I think a more forward-thinking organization, I'm not saying the answer is to trade every one of those guys before the bottom falls out, because to think that the bottom has fallen out of guys like, Dylan Carlson as an example, and there are obviously others. To think about like a Harrison Bader, fine player that the Cardinals kind of propped up to be like, he's going to be the next. And then he plays out his career and he's a fine player. But I think you can come across a number of examples for the team over the last number of years where they are sort of anticipating, and maybe this is like a long-winded way of saying what Cardinals fans have said for a long time. The organization overvalues its own players. And I think that has been the reason they've been prevented from like nailing a trade timing-wise, of trading a guy when it looks like he's about to break out. You trade that player because you think internally there's a reason that he might not. And then you get something really good, and the team you trade him to is left a little bit underwhelmed because they thought the guy they were getting was going to be the next one. Like, you think about the inverse of that. I feel like when Marcell Ozuna was traded to the Cardinals, trading him away was like, yeah, this guy's been really good for us. He's hitting a bunch of home runs, but he's kind of a questionable character behind the scenes in the clubhouse. You could see things going off the rails a little bit. Good player. We're gonna cash in now, though, knowing he could have an MVP in his future. He never did, but like timing trades where it's not just on the downslope of a guy's career, and you're going, all right, we're just right before we hit rock bottom, we better get rid of Dylan Carlson. Right before we hit rock bottom, we better get rid of Tyler O'Neill and just get what we can back for him. Like, that's been the archetype of trades that happened largely under the Mo era in the final years. Or it was, hey, this guy is a good asset, but he's a free agent coming up and we're not contending, so let's trade him in July. And then they do those trades, but you don't get, the market is dictating for you that you need to make that trade. You're not going out there and saying, you know what, Lars Nootbaar's got some really compelling information, but there's this player over in this other organization that could really fit a need for us. I'm not saying that even as a fan or a media member, a writer, a podcaster, that I anticipated that Lars Nootbaar was going to have more injuries and struggle. I was a big Lars Nootbaar fan too, but I think within the Cardinals front office, their job is to occasionally be able to anticipate some of these things and try to get more for a guy than less. And if they had done it, a year or two ago, look, the Alex Reyes one, it's hard to anticipate injuries, but it's also not. Because, you can look at guys in the way that they're built and made up, and you could say, man, this might be the absolute height of an Alex Reyes' value. Imagine what the Cardinals could have got for him then. And granted, at the time, I'm not going to revise history and pretend that I was, calling for it. At the time, I was like, the Cardinals are in the mix for playoffs. They made the playoff game that year. That was the wild card year against the Dodgers, where Reyes gives up the Taylor home run. And so I was even advocating going, I would hold on to Reyes because what if you can make a run in the playoffs? But, I'm not always right either. And I'm certainly not paid like the Cardinals executives are paid. And so one of these times you'd love to think, man, a trade that happens in the moment doesn't win public sentiment, but it ends up being great. I wonder how many times have the Rays traded away a player where their fans in the moment were like, why do we can't get rid of this guy? And then you turn around, it's like, oh, that actually paid off pretty good in the end. Like, that's kind of the boldness that I wonder if the Cardinals are going to get in the Chaim Bloom era. We'll see, but they certainly didn't have it in the Mo era at the end.
We will also see if the Cardinals come out and talk about any of these surgeries at any point once the end of the Major League Baseball season comes our way in the next 4 to 7 games as the World Series gets ready to start on Friday. Until then, it's all speculation, and that's what we'll continue to do here on STL Sports Central each and every day here on Card Central 365. He's Brenden Schaeffer. I'm Joe Roderick. We'll talk to you tomorrow.